Hello friends, this is Yrvind, and now it's just upside down. You can see the floor is my feet and here's the boat. So much work to do. Here all these things gonna be laminated and even more down here, and the problem is very cramped. So I have to stand in here in the front in this hatch and do the work. At the same time, I sure don't want to get epoxy on my clothes and things like this. So I have to take it bit by bit with care. And also like in here, it has to be, you see, making fillets and glass fiber all the way up here. So this is how it is. But like Ford said it, if you have a problem, divide it into smaller parts. Then it's easy. So here it looks here. Wow. It's difficult to see. Bad to see. And here it has to be fixed. So now I've done something like these pieces here. But it's very cramped in there, so I can only do one corner, two sides at the same time. So next day will be the other ones over here. So this is it. And a good thing, however, it is that I can turn the boat whatever I like. So this is for today. A few days later, with a northwest wind, I left for real. In the fresh following wind, I made really good progress. In the sound between Sweden and Denmark, there is often a current whose direction depends on the weather. I guess that on that particular day, a depression over the Baltic must have sucked me and the surroundings water south, because toward evening I reached Copenhagen, about 50 miles distant. In the harbor I got into an argument with the Danes. They forbade me to sail. It was a rule, they said. They made me lower my sails and got out the oars. This was stupid, because I was less maneuverable under power than on the sail. The Danes were friendly people though, and soon a sightseeing boat picked me up and gave me a tour right into Nyhavn, the colorful old sailors' quarter. There I spent my night among the hard-drinking Swedish tourists. Next day, after having got my bearings, I rowed across the water to the quieter surroundings of the Christianshavn Canal, where I tied up opposite the Royal Greenland Trading Company among an odd assortment of boats. For a young man bent on discussing and reading about the big questions, Copenhagen in the autumn of 1962 was a heaven. She welcomed me with open arms. Soon I had efficient, basic structure for my day. I woke up late, I had my breakfast, I walked to Strøget, Copenhagen's long, world-famous pedestrianized street. I followed it all the way to Nyhavn. There, between all the bars and noise, was an obscure door with a small notice. Sjöfartens bibliotek. It was a library which supplied the Danish merchant navy with books. But it also had a reading room. It was never visited by anyone except me, so I had it all to myself. The librarian, who sat in another room, must personally have been very interested in all kinds of strange sports, like me, because I found books like The Junks and Sampans of the Yangtze Kiang by C.R.G. Worcester, Canoes of Oceania by Haddon and Ornell, the Amateur Yacht Research Society's publication, and more of the same kind. Shelf of the shelf was filled with rare nautical books. It was a treasure trove. After 4 p.m., when they closed, I had some yesterday's bread and very old cheese. My budget was tight. Alan's mother sent me $2 a week. I still had most of the tinned army rations given me in Varberg. I paid no harbor dues, so lodging was free. There was still plenty of wear left on the shoes given to me by a woman in Varberg, so transport was also free. My meal did not cost much. The old bread I got from my old friendly baker, the cheese was leftovers, smelling so strongly that they had to be kept outside the delicatessen shop where I found them. With my meal, I drank water. That done, I walked to the big public library. There I read for general knowledge. They had not only books, but also lots of magazines. They closed at 8 p.m., but the reading room with its reference library was open to 10 p.m. There I read the classics. After the libraries finally closed their doors on me, I went to a nearby cafe, the Pilegården, to discuss the big questions with students and bohemians. They closed at 1 a.m. From there, a group of us went to the Montmartre Jazz Club. That late they charged 20 cents in entry fees. I stayed till 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I walked back to my floating home. On my way home, I bought a pint of milk in a milk shop. In Denmark, they open extremely early. Before going in, I had a bite to eat. Sadly, this satisfying routine was interrupted by boring weekends. All was not lost, however, because Copenhagen had a lot of interesting museums with free admittance. As at last resort, there was sightseeing. Occasionally, there was also world events which stirred emotions. During the Cuba Missile Crisis, the students took the streets demonstrating against the American imperialism. After the failed Bay of Pigs invasion, Castro had become a hero. Before, America had been seen as a land of freedom. In America, in Copenhagen, I realized that I was on the right track, that my ideal reading place was a boat. If I only could make her seaworthy, it could take me to the ends of the world. Then it could give me both theoretical, practical knowledge of the whole world. But such a boat demanded a unique design. To effect it, I realized that I had to go back to the fundamental principles to start all over again. Furthermore, I realized that before starting the construction, I must learn much more. Much more. To get access to knowledge, I had to learn more languages. Besides the Scandinavian languages, I needed to read books in German, English, and French. I also needed more mathematics, especially calculus, so that I could understand the meaning of those snake-like symbols called integral signs that crawled across the pages of technical writing. One of my student friends gave me his set of mathematical books. Every day I spent part of the day reading them and doing the exercises. In the evening at Cape Leeuwin, we met and he explained what I did not understand. September had passed, so had October and November. Now it was December. It was getting colder and damper in my floating home. Sometimes at night, before getting into my sleeping bag, I started the kerosene pressure stove to drive out a bit of the dampness and heat my tiny cabin. One time, the flame of my kerosene light went very low. I turned up the wick. It went low again. Strange, I thought. I just felt it. I was trying to find a solution to the mystery. By chance, I pushed open the door with my foot to get some fresh air. And the flame of the lamp went up. The reason for the low flame, I don't understand, had been lack of oxygen. My floating home had not much ventilation. I thought it was a good thing that the internal combustion of me, a human being, used oxygen more efficiently than a kerosene lamp. But I was taught to be more careful. Life is full of surprises. One day, I found a letter at the post office. It was from my mother. She wrote that she had won a court case against the Swedish government and had got the money for me, my sister, and herself. Money the Japanese government had given to relatives of the crew of Ningpo for their sufferings during the war. The Swedish government had not recognized my father as a seaman. He was an officer and the government had refused to pay my mother. The money gave me a chance. My wife's neighbor in the prison, the assassin, had told me that although you had to have formal education to be a student at the university, everyone had the right to go there and listen to the lectures, provided that the professor gave his permission. You could listen, but you could not get the examination. I was looking for knowledge, not for a qualification. So I decided to give up my present floating home, go back to live in the attic of my mother's house and listen to lectures in mathematics in preparation of designing for my ideal floating home.